Okay, recording in progress. So, I really love this topic today about dashboards, about reports, about dump SEO mistakes. And I have the pleasure of talking with Ewelina Westcott. She is an SEO freelancer with a huge passion about technical SEO and data. So, thank you so much for joining the call. And I'm very happy that we are going to talk about these very, I think, vulnerable things about data and reporting, because that is like how actually our SEO results have been shown and valued. So welcome, Ewelina, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast, especially that I love following your journey. I remember you starting out, sharing all the resources on LinkedIn. And when I found your resources, I was thinking, why has nobody ever done this before?
Yeah,
If
I
it's
remember
needed.
you since day one. Yeah, I think you and Olga were like my biggest supporter, like from the first month. So I'm very grateful.
Well, it's nice to see you being successful and progressing in your own path
Yeah,
because
thank you
it's
so
not,
much.
it's,
But
it's
now it's focused on you. Don't turn the focus on me, please. Okay,
um,
so let's talk about the dashboard and reporting mistakes. And I really love to say like what are the first mistakes, and then we will say like what actually we need to do it, because those are the problems that a lot of agency owners, managers are having, and not they are not sure like what is actually mistake or how to present this report and how to actually analyze data in the right way.
SEOs don't really know how to work with data because they have never been trained in working with the data, cleansing, analyzing, putting reports or dashboards together, and then they just being thrown a task and they're supposed to complete it without actually knowing what they're doing, how to do it properly, or how to verify the mistakes. And because of the time constraints and how the agencies are set up or how their workplace is being managed, they are being given a set amount of time and they don't even have time to take a step back, consider what am I actually trying to investigate here or report on? Is it actually important for the business? Does this business actually care about transactions or they care about leads? Am I reporting on the correct information, or is it just a template that is being used across every single client in the business, even though the clients and their businesses vary so much and they haven't been uh, bent or they haven't been set up in a way to benefit the client. They're just being a copy paste exercise, and
Mm,
that just leads to a yeah, I've done the report, put some blurb together that doesn't even make sense or doesn't bring any value to the client because it's been reported that XYZ number of keywords has increased their position. But at the end of the day, how does it translate into new leads, new transactions, increased revenue? If it
mm.
doesn't, it's just an exercise that we do because that's part of life. We just do it for the sake of it, but we don't take the information on board, analyze it fully to understand where can we make a difference and how to actually make the business grow or make the business achieve the goals and help to improve their KPIs or objectives or whatever they wanted to improve when they came to the agency to try and improve whatever they were trying to achieve. So yeah, it's just
Yeah,
a
the most common screenshot, like CTR impressions from the Google Search Console, and like let's start from there.
oh yes. So we're taking a random screenshot from Google Search Console. A random example. We would, for example, we would have a client which is a local small business operating in a small area in the UK somewhere, and we take a screenshot from Google Search Console without applying any filters. So we're reporting on all the impressions, clicks, click-through rate values, average rankings across the board. So even people who are navigating the website from India, for example, from Germany, who are never going to be a potential client, never going to be contributing to the business, we are reporting, oh, we've improved impressions by 300%. Yeah, but majority of those clients or those impressions actually came from a location that's not valid to the business and it's not going to help in any way. So I think accessing the data, taking everything we've got without actually cleansing it. So we looking at all the fluff, as I say. So we're looking at data which is redundant, because nobody cares that someone in Italy is looking at the local hairdressers in, for example, Brighton, unless they come into Brighton SEO and they want to look their best. Apart from that, what are the chances that someone is actually going to convert when they're looking at the website from a random location when the business is not actually operating in? That has been done. That happened before.
Yeah, and you know what also? We are so thinking that we are thriving when we are putting that Google Search Console, screenshots, CTR, impressions, and like month to month. And, you know, like we are thinking, you know, especially if it's increased, of course, then like, you know, like our job is finished. But the most interesting thing when we are presenting that slide to our business owner who is having that business, that screenshot doesn't mean anything for him, because they don't know, they haven't been to Google Search Console at all. And like, funny enough, like I was really thinking about recording a specific video, that screenshot when you are working with a business owner, that doesn't mean anything. They haven't been to Google Search Console at all. So they are more confused with the specific, you know, like of the screenshots, then like we are thinking like, oh, I'm, you know, like the best SEO consultant. So we constantly need to think from the business owner perspective, like how these slides are looking for them, not just like, let's put our insecurities on the slide, we got increased, like let's move on. How do you approach these kind of like moments of thinking differently from the business side perspective than just like being an SEO consultant?
I think for me the most crucial element is trying to understand what the business is trying to achieve. So it comes back to the onboarding and trying to understand the business, the objectives, the plans for the future, and so on, to try and understand where they are, what they're trying to achieve. And then once I have that information, I can use the Google Search Console information or any other information I would be using to report on the progress of the SEO, to tie that with their business objectives and goals, so that they can understand, or because we have expanded the blog sections and now we are visible for so many more keywords, and because we are visible for so many more keywords, there's so many more visitors coming to the page, and because they coming to the page, so many of them are now converting, because they then land on a category page or a product page, and from there they actually generating revenue. So I think trying to put myself in the shoes of the business owner, try to understand what they're trying to achieve, and then tie it to the information I've got to showcase the progress, not just, oh yeah, Google Search Console says that we're doing excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. And that is like why people are paying us, you know, like if we increase the organic traffic and then it's going to the homepage or like to the specific categories, if we are taking e-commerce website as an example, then we can see maybe we are bringing like 10,000 people to the category page, but we are not converting, or the conversion rate is so small. So we found a problem, you know, like something on the category page is not aligned with people, how they are buying or something like that. So that's kind of like our job, not just like it's so hard. Always we are thinking it's so hard to align with the, you know, like revenue and everything like this. But to be aligned with the revenue, we need to discover these problems on the stages. So, and that is like our problem, not our business owner problem, you know, like, so how do you have some examples of anything that you were kind of discovering like these issues on the journey, and then in the final stage it was increase in the sales, customers, doesn't matter, like what was it?
I don't think I can think of an example from the top of my head where I
just you know, just about mistakes that like people are doing, you know, like on this journey.
I think from now, just linking the technical SEO, I think having amazing blog posts, optimized content which aligns with the user's journey, and then we including links that somehow don't work. So we will have outdated category links or product links, and we have potential customers who are already there, willing to convert, and they can't because the page doesn't exist, or it hasn't been linked properly, and it's just like throwing a hammer into works, because they're already there, they're already on the website, we have their attention, we have them on the page, and then we're saying, oh, sorry, stop, we're not going to send you to the product page you want to buy or to the category so you can browse more. So I think that's one of the main ones. Some of the other mistakes, just going back to the Search Console, I had a client once panicking because the number of the non-index pages in Google Search Console has absolutely spiked. And as an owner of a small website, they were absolutely terrified. After just having a quick look, it turned out that the website they had, or the domain they had set up in Google Search Console, it was the non-www domain instead of the correct one. So again, because they weren't looking at the correct data source, they were basing their decision to start panicking on data which was actually invalid because it didn't apply. Obviously, they migrated and nobody has considered, oh, maybe we should have updated Google Search Console. So then we can have a overview on the new property. That slipped someone's
And
mind.
how to ensure that actually we are looking to right data? It doesn't matter, like, is it Google Search Console? Is it some, like dashboard? Like, do you have some kind of like steps that the data that you collected for the future analysis are actually right?
I think it all depends on the task at hand, because there's so many different tasks you could be working on that I think taking a step back and thinking, do I have the URL in question or the website address, the correct one? I have a client who has got 4 different versions of the website because they have the secure version, non-secure version, trailing slash, not trailing slash, and they're
not connected at all.
No, because why have one domain if you can have 4? Exactly the same ones. Maybe it's more money. Maybe that's the way forward. I don't know. Not from my experience, but yes, they have 4 different domains. So yeah, trying to identify which one is the correct one and which one is the master one we are supposed to be looking at. Confirm and double check the URL in question. Again, I remember I was working on a website audit, so it's a week's worth of analyzing, interpreting, and so on and so on. And it turned out that the company name was exactly the same as someone else's within the niche, with exactly the same offering, and I was just working on a completely different website. Again, clarify which website is supposed to be, which version of the website. If we are looking at specific reports, what do we need to take into consideration? Are we looking at specific markets? Are we looking at specific date periods? Are we looking at branded, non-branded traffic? Trying to narrow down as much as possible what I'm supposed to be analyzing, because otherwise I will spend all that time looking at the information which is redundant, and it's not going to bring anyone close to the goal that has been set out. So double check, cross check, make sure that you've got the basics. So which website you're working on, have the URL in question as a reference point, any branded keywords or non-branded keywords you should be considering. Has there been rebranding? Potentially there has been a different brand name that has been changed recently. You might not know because you don't follow every single niche across the board, and you don't know that, for example, Rakuten used to be called Price Minster, for example. So just a brand, I think it's a French brand. Again, without knowing that, I will be reporting on XYZ thinking that it's a non-branded keyword, even though it's a brand. It's just after rebranding. So trying to get as much information upfront from the client to understand how much fluff you can get rid of upfront.
And when you were talking, when you're talking about this, like you ask so many questions, like, so in the basis of all of this is actually just a question, like to make sure that actually our work and like effort and time is delivering the right results.
Yes, I think asking questions, it's just more about working efficiently and effectively, because again, I've done those mistakes. I've been there. I've spent my time working on a XYZ website, even though it wasn't the correct one, but because I assumed, oh, that must be that because the business name is called the same, that's in the same industry, that's the website. So yeah, don't assume, double check, cross check, because it's easier to have a template for an onboarding a client when you ask provide XYZ. You can always modify it, add extra information as you grow and learn, and there's more specific tasks you're looking at. For example, you might need to have access to XYZ and understand more in depth about the website, about the industry. So you can always update it, but even having a couple of questions that will get you started and will increase the chances of you delivering a task to the standard you're happy with, and it's actually going to be valuable to the client.
I remember when I was starting as a consultant, actually, it took me maybe 2 to 3 years. I was so scared to ask questions, like because whenever I would think about question, I would think like, maybe client will think that I don't know enough, that maybe I should know this, and then I was researching so much on my own, just being scared to ask questions because, those will be a dumb question, but they will think about me, like how that will increase my authority or my profession or something like that. So how did you go over this initial scarcity or moment that like maybe I should just like ask less questions and like try to figure out on my own?
I think if you speak to business owners, especially actual business owners, their business is a baby, and they want, if they could, they will be talking about it all day long. And if you, first of all, you show interest because it's their baby, you show interest in their baby, they can be talking for days and they can provide you so much information. And then also it shows that you're actually trying to fully understand the business, the task at hand, and you're utilizing your time and their money effectively and to the best possible way, because you're not just going to go off then and try to figure out, oh, I'm going to be looking at data that has so much information in it, I don't even know where to go from it. But then if you narrow it down, because you're going to be looking at, for example, the peak period, which was last year around Black Friday, you're looking at Black Friday period, you're not looking at the brand traffic because we don't worry about brand traffic, we're looking at the non-branded keywords. You've got the information, okay, we're only operating in UK, Germany, USA, you're looking at specific markets, and then the whole task that was massive is now just going to be manageable because you identified what you're supposed to be working on, because you've asked questions, you found out exactly what the client wants and what they need, and then you're just going to deliver it without overwhelming them with a 15-page report and a dashboard that shows absolutely everything, and they look at all those graphs, which are amazing because you spend so much time on making sure the visualizations are correct to the graph, to the information, like just so much that they'll be like, so what? So what do I do with this then?
It's more overwhelming for them than just like few pages. You mentioned the dashboards, like what kind of mistakes you see that usually SEO teams are making in these dashboards and like how you are correcting them?
I think trying to cram too much information, again, redundant information, which is not valuable to the client. Because it's lovely to know, but it doesn't answer the question they had in the first place. So make sure that the dashboard actually answers the question that they had, or they were coming to me to try and rectify it. Making sure that we don't overwhelm them with all the fancy visualizations, graphs, colors, rainbows, unicorns, everything. Keeping it simple, because then your information is going to be actually easier to digest and to understand if they don't have to decipher, oh, does the light pink mean that it's something good or it's something bad? Or is red actually in this case something bad because normally it's something good, but there's a asterisk to it. So yeah, trying to remove as much information that can be distracting from the answers you're trying to provide. Keeping it short and sweet, because again, it's a dashboard, it's not a report. A dashboard is just a snapshot of all the information that you've been working on in your 50,000 pages report and you pulled that information, digested it, analyzed it, and now you took it away and you put it in a bite-sized dashboard so that the client can just go away having had looked at that information, and he knows exactly, or they know exactly what they are looking at. Being quite restrictive with different colors, fonts, again, fancy. They look lovely, but again, because if it's something it's difficult to read, how are they going to remember that information?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like different fonts that are quite fancy. I think the ones that imitate the handwriting, I think they might be quite tricky to actually read and understand. Trying not to cram every single data point, because you can add the score, and they're not called scorecards, legend to the information to the dashboard, and then too much, again, it's not good because it's just going to be overwhelming and you're not going to be able to convey the message you're trying to convey. So at the end of the day, I think the main point is keeping it simple and answering the question that the client
And the situation when the client is saying like, oh, I want the dashboard, like, let's make dashboards. I think, and what I did with my clients is actually, okay, you want dashboard, okay, let me know what you want to find in the dashboard. So basically asking him a question, how he's envisioning, like what he wants to see in the dashboard, is actually aligning the dashboard perfectly for that client, because in the end of the day, that client is paying us and they want to find it valuable. We don't need to assume like what he will find valuable. For example, some our keyword rankings, branding, non-branding, CTR, like we just love when CTR increases over the month, but he doesn't know what that means, like in the back end of all these things. So really, and then we really want to see like clicks, impressions, and we are putting everything, but that doesn't mean anything for the client if he's coming from the business owner side. If we are working with the managers or something like that, again, what you want to see, why you want to have the dashboard, and not just like replicating all the dashboard templates that we can find and everything. So I really love the kind of like structure that like it's 5 to 6 steps. It's not like 10, like these kinds of rules. And I really love that you mentioned about the colors, because like we love colors. Let's make it colorful, let's make it design, like all this, but don't make them think what something means. Just like put it.
Yeah, exactly. And just summarize my experience again, is like, don't assume, ask. Again, because a business owner is going to be needing different kind of information or different level of information than a marketing manager or a head of SEO department or a head of XYZ department who works with SEO. So understanding what they need and then delivering it at the end of the day, as long as your data is valid, is uniform, is being pulled from one source, you've applied filters or categorization that was supposed to be applied, you didn't just make up some random numbers from anywhere, you should be fine. And use the language that your target audience is going to understand. So you're more than happy to talk about impressions, clicks, average rankings, improve CTR or decrease CTR, XYZ.
Or average CTR.
to your head of SEO. But as a business owner, they're not going to be able to understand. They're just going to switch off because it's just going to be gibberish. It's like someone was talking to me about setting up heavy machinery for stenciling. I'm like, I don't even know what it means in the first place. And you're trying to make me understand. I was like, I'm switched off already. You've lost me.
And they will not ask, like they will will not see the value, and like they will move on. And then like they will think, SEO is not working, thinking about other SEO consultants or something like that. When it comes to SEO reporting, like we didn't mention one thing that I really think, like people are interested in, about how often, like we should go with the SEO reporting, like people are saying every week, like in which cases, if that, I don't think, like that's extremely sufficient, and especially, like making the impact. But also we are presenting SEO reports on monthly basis, like something on quarterly. Like, do you see any differences, and like what is your approach about frequency of these SEO reports?
Well, I think I would say it depends, because if we working with a small website that isn't being updated very, very frequently, the industry is quite stable when we don't have to worry about rankings changing heavily week over week, and we don't have a lot of SEO budget, but we know there's not much work being done. I don't see the point of reporting weekly, because first of all, we're using the SEO budget that could be used potentially on creating content briefs, content creation, or again, depending on the business and the strategy and so on and so on.
But that's it, yeah. We are wasting our hours on just like repetitive SEO reports.
So I don't see the value. But if we are working, for example, with an e-commerce client, and they're in the peak period, and we have to monitor closely what's happening, so we can actually try and work on potential issues, or hopefully not issues, but we can keep an eye on what's happening, then weekly might be the case. Because if we report monthly and our peak period is only 2.5 months, by the time we looked at the data from the first month, we're already 4 weeks behind to see potentially, oh, do we need to change, do we need to update, what we need to improve, is there anything we can do, or is it outside of our control? Is it because there has been a Google update? Is it because competitors are doing something new? So we've lost already so much time because we were just sitting on the data. And if we set up a report or the dashboard, and then the data is just going to be populated automatically, setting it up might take up time, but then once it's done, you can just keep an eye on it, and you will have that information in the dashboard. First page, you will see everything what you want to see. Are we losing any high value keywords? Are we not losing? What's happening? Again, depends what the business wants us to report on, and then you can action XYZ, because you can see something is happening. There's a rift or an earthquake or a Google update or XYZ, and you can action it much, much sooner. So you'll have 3 weeks-ish advantage, because you've actually looked at the data, analyzed it, and seen there's something going on. We need to get a grip. Otherwise, our peak period is not going to be performing to the potential it's supposed to be. And if it's not performing, obviously it's lost money. Nobody wants to lose their money.
Okay, we talk about SEO reporting, dashboards. What actually help you to develop this more strategic thinking, more strategic approach in the analyzing data? Like, how to actually develop that mindset behind?
I think, I'm not sure if I developed it or I realized that I have so much more room for improvement, and I actually did a data analysis course to learn how to work with data properly, because
I remember the survey that we did, right?
Exactly. So because I've been working SEO by then for what, 5-6 years, and I've been doing reporting, I've been doing analyzing, competitive analysis, looking at the data, Excel spreadsheets, everyday life on an SEO, and I was eyeballs deep pretty much in Excel, sales, data, information. But at the end of the day, I've never learned or been taught properly how to work with data. And then I was like, well, actually, that's not right, is it? Because if I don't know what I'm doing, how is the information that I'm actually providing with the client with going to be accurate? Am I just playing a lucky dip, assuming that XYZ is going to be correct? Or have I done my diligence and my work, and I've actually analyzed the data, and I'm shown that the numbers say what they say, and the insights I'm providing are based on data and not on my gut feeling or assumptions? Even though in SEO sometimes there's no explanations why something is black and white, and that's it. But in cases when you can rely on data, I wanted to be sure that actually I'm using the data to its advantage, and making sure I'm understanding it properly. So I've done my course, and it seems that I wasn't the only one who, in the SEO industry, who didn't know how to work with data, even though we do
None
it
of us.
with every. There was from the people who answered my survey, there was only a handful who actually knew what a dashboard was, what a report was, how to work with data, how to clean it, how to do the job. Even though the reporting, keyword research, that tasks that are usually the junior SEO team members assign with, because they are the easy tasks. Well, at the end of the day, they're not so easy, because if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge marketing gap, because we as SEOs, like, we are doing all these like technical things, learning on page content, backlink, like we are learning these kinds of skills, but like we are not learning the data. But like data is kind of like basis of all of this. So I really see on the market, especially like SEO freelancers who are approaching this perspective, especially who are working with some agencies as external consultants. That is a huge niche for here, because agencies and like when people are looking for external consultants, they don't want another SEO. They want someone who can provide data with proper analysis, so they can build the strategies. So I really see that is a huge gap on the market. And for example, I already have 2 clients that are entering this perspective, like from data and like strategic, and they are working as external consultants for the UK agencies, because they have something that they are fulfilling the gap between all of this. So data is like what we actually need, because like SEO is not good enough. It is, but like we are not thinking that like to do a proper SEO, we need to really be good at data.
Yeah, because again, it's so much relies on the keyword research, looking at Google Search Console information. Because if you're not looking at the data the right way, you're not working with it the correct way, your whole keyword research, which is supposed to be used to build the whole content strategy, is going to fall flat. Because if your data is skewed because you haven't removed duplicates, you haven't populated the search volumes correctly. I've seen people doing copy-paste instead of doing VLOOKUPs. I was like, how do you know that the keyword order hasn't changed? How can you just copy-paste?
Yeah, it's like writing a book, but we don't know letters, like but it's so interesting that like, and when I was working as a consultant for a few years, I didn't have like any idea about data, like analysis and like proper doing it. I was just like, let's do, like.
Yeah, because again, as I mentioned in my Brighton talk, it was like we are supposed to know so many things and have so many skill sets, but like, where do we learn them? If no, but everyone is just doing their best, and they're trying their best, and sometimes maybe they've been shown X, Y, Z, or they just been populating the templates and scope of works from different agencies, and that's where's the learning, where's the actual upskilling, where's the correct way of learning how to do X, Y, Z. I think that's
because,
still
yeah. Because
like,
we learn SEO at like courses, online. We didn't learn it at school, and there is a huge schooling gap because we didn't acquire the skills, like to proceed this. But that's, like I'm always seeing this as a huge opportunity for the people like you who know this, to just like brand yourself and really help the agency owners, agency managers, like people who are seeing that actually the gap for the SEO strategies in not analyzing the data properly. So, like it's always good to have this perspective and like enter the market from this.
Yeah, because you've got your whole strategy set out, and you 6 months, 9 months into the strategy, you're ticking all the boxes from the roadmap, and it's not making any difference. And why is it making any difference? Because the data that the initial keyword research, competitor analysis, XY that has been carried out is not accurate or hasn't been validated, and we just pretty much just guessing, because
Yeah.
if we don't have valid reasons for doing XYZ, why are we doing it? And if the data wasn't there, double check, triple checked. Even when I write my formulas and do my analysis reports, I run my formulas and then I still have a manual check cell to make sure that that's what I'm supposed to be seeing, if this formula works correctly. If I'm not seeing this, why am I not seeing this? Then go back, rewrite, cross-reference, double check, because I don't want to be messing the whole report, because I couldn't be bothered to spend 2 minutes double checking if the cell B17 equals XYZ, because that's what it's supposed to be spitting out as I said it.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I really love this like new level that we are bringing. So I can't wait for people to listen and everything. Like to stop and say like, hey, the things are not working because actually the base of the analysis and data is not done properly. So go ahead.
I want to say, because it's similar with building a house. So if we imagine that the data is the groundwork, if the groundwork is not secure or solid or whatever terminology is being used in the proper building industry, if that's not sound, how come the house might look pretty, but it's not going to survive because it's going to crumble, because it's just not stable enough. And it's going to be the same with data.
Yeah. Okay. For the end, do you think, do you want to add something that we didn't cover, or like anything to share on your side? Maybe I didn't ask.
Let me have a look at my quick notes. Where did I put my sticky notes? I think most of the things were covered. I think the main takeaway, I think making sure that the data you're working with is the correct data. So you've got the correct data source. So especially agency side, because you will have multiple clients in your GA account, making sure that you're actually looking at the correct account and property, especially if it's already been connected to Looker Studio and you're seeing that through the third party, making sure that the connection is correct. If you've been working with a dashboard that someone else has created in Looker Studio, again, having as much information as possible, how it's been set up, why it's been set up that way, where are the takeaways, where are the building blocks, because I had to reverse engineer dashboards because there was no handovers, there was no outline, what has been reported on, any crucial information. For example, I was supposed to be starting the reporting on a Sunday instead of a Monday as a working week, and if that's not being kept anywhere, how is anyone supposed to know what they are reporting on and how to make sure that the information that's going to be reported on year over year, month over month, is going to be accurate, if I'm just making the numbers up because I don't know the reference point that's been used previously.
Wow. Yes. And for the all agency owners, team managers who really want to check if they are working with the right data, please connect with Ewelina. I will put her LinkedIn profile. So definitely the one person who can help you about making your base of the building and like future SEO strategies to be in proper way. So
yeah, to be solid.
Solid, if that is the terminology.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And it was lovely to talk with you.
Thank you for having me.